Welcome everyone to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host Fernando, and joined with me today is my great co-host Keith. Keith, you didn't have to be upset this week because your team was on a bye week.
It was a nice chilled week for me. Just watch all the other teams lose, like your Patriots. What is going on, buddy? There is nothing good about your Patriots, I'm afraid, right now. 34-zip to the Saints, who come on, the Saints aren't Super Bowl contenders. What's going on? Tell me.
I'm not biased when I'm doing my score predictions and my predictions every week, but I was like, man, these Patriots, they don't look that great, but I think they could beat the Saints. And then you just drop 0 points against a Saints. What? Hello? How do you do that? But I think this is also coming off all the injuries that we've had. Judon and Christian Gonzalez, our first round pick. We got JC Jackson back, which was great. Didn't really help us on the defense right now. Anyways, but yeah, this offense looks horrendous. I wonder if Bill Belichick is on the chopping block.
That was going to be my next question to you. What do you think? What's your honest opinion? I think there has to be questions asked at this stage. That's the business, right? You can't go on losing like this. And there's nothing good. Let's be honest. There's nothing good about any side of the ball for the Patriots right now.
No, there isn't. The receivers, Tomorrow Douglas went down with a head injury. Juju Smith went down with a head injury. So there's 2 top receivers, I would think, for them already going down with injuries besides Kendrick Bourne, who's also there, and Hunter Henry Gesicki, who can't produce without Mac Jones in the end zone anyways. But, this team does not look good. And I think Belichick is still going to have a job. I think he's going to have a job until the end of the year. I think what's going to happen is they need to find a general manager. I'm sorry, but Belichick is not the answer. He is running the team as a 2003 Patriots team where defense wins it all. And defense does, but not all the time. And if your offense cannot put up 1 point against the Saints, who doesn't even have a good defense, please, what's wrong? It's general manager.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues there. It's really interesting going forward now. Can they keep playing Mac? I don't think so. But Zappi's not the answer either. I think we spoke on this last week on the show. It's kind of, you were on about tanking, and I was saying, Belichick won't let that happen. I don't know if he has the power to even get you to win games now. So maybe it'll just kind of, happen naturally and you might end up tanking. I don't know whether Patriots fans want that, but if it gets you the number 1 pick, well then maybe.
Well, here's the thing. Belichick's aiming to try and be the all-time winningest coach. And I think once he gets that, he's going to retire. But Here's a team that is 1-4, the Denver Broncos. They might be trying to just cut everyone out of that team. So why not go get yourself Cortland Sutton and Russell Wilson?
Yeah, the only thing with that is after giving up so much to Seattle for Russ, what do Denver do there? You're going to take a massive loss on Russ, and then obviously you'll take his massive salary because then he got that new contract join. Which, okay, fine. It's if you want an actual quarterback that can win games in the NFL, you take it. But I just don't know what Denver would want from him. I'm sure they'd want close. They probably wouldn't get a first round pick, but they want close to it. They need to get something back for what they gave Seattle. But I don't diss the idea. I think it'd be clever, but I don't know whether they'd actually go and do it.
Well, hear me out. If you give up Mac Jones, maybe a young receiver Tyquan Thornton, Tomorrow Douglas, they're not really worth much, but give up a young rookie receiver that we have. Maybe give up a solid player on the defense because we know we're good at defense, picking up defensive players. Give up one of those people and then give him a first round pick. I'm willing to give him a first round pick. Give him a first round. If you want, give him a first for next year and give him a second for the year after. I'm fine with that. Russell Wilson, he's up there in age. We know that. But Cortland Sutton's also getting up there in receiver age, but having 2 veterans there, I think Cortland Sutton being there alone improves that offense. But you got to improve the quarterback position first.
Yeah, I agree with that. Russ is playing well. I think Peyton wasn't happy with the way they lost the game this week against the Jets. But if you watch Russ during that game, he looked like his early years in Seattle. He was doing a lot of running and stuff like that. So, Russ looks a lot better than last year. But that'd be an
Yeah.
interesting move. I mean, it definitely makes you a lot better.
It would make us a team. I mean, the Bills just lost. Their defense is slowly going down the drain for the Bills.
Oh,
So
was crazy. I mean, for that first quarter, like every play was stopped because of a Bill's injury. It was nuts.
that's what I'm saying. And like the fact that the Bills lost, that means that division's still wide open. I mean, Miami's 4-1, which they might run away with the division. Hopefully not, but they might. You got Buffalo's 3-2. Jets, who's 2-3, who's doing better than the Patriots. Problem.
Yeah.
And then the Patriots are 1-4. Patriots, if they trade for a quarterback like Wilson and Cortland Sutton, that team can easily start winning games, personally.
Yeah, and get Bill to sort of.
Mac's not the answer. Mac's not the answer. Time to burn the jersey. Let's burn it.
No,
Let's burn it.
I think we knew that, after the first season. Let's be honest. I think a lot of people were just pinning their hopes that he'd improve, but come on, I think we knew he wasn't the answer even coming out of the draft.
I thought they looked good. With the season 1 of Mac Jones, I thought he looked good. He was the best rookie quarterback at the time, personally, I think. But obviously, going to the playoffs, he didn't look good against the Bills. Yeah. But besides the point, take a leap in year 2, didn't do anything good. Take a leap in year 3, didn't do good at all.
Yeah, I mean, looks like he's gone backwards. I don't know whether you want to say that's because of Bill O'Brien or whatever. I don't know. People have their own opinions, but he's definitely not the answer. I mean, what happens if you just swapped Fields and Jones? I don't know if we spoke about this before on the show, but like, does that help Fields teams? I think a lot of people would like Fields on the Patriots. I don't know if the Bears would be too happy getting Mac Jones.
But here's the thing. I think the Bears they might be looking for a quarterback in which I don't think they should, but they might be looking for a quarterback with the first 2 picks of next year's draft.
Maybe, but I think if Fields gets going now after, their first win of the season last week, I mean, then they'll just trade back, I'd say. Yeah,
they very much could. And of course, the question is why trade a quarterback if you're a Patriots right now? I mean, there's still a chance. Yeah, for a quarterback.
So why trade for a quarterback? Why? Because he just tanked and go for Caleb. I get the question. I mean, it makes sense, but it's like we were saying, is Bill Belichick. It's just his mindset that he just wants to win. That's my factor in it. When you brought it up last week about him tanking, I just can't, and I still can't now. Like naturally, just see Bill Belichick wanting to tank. He's going to go out there and try and play their best teams, and like what most teams do. But I mean, everybody had the Arizona Cardinals as being the worst team. I mean, if you played the Patriots now, I'd say the Cards beaches.
Sadly, I have to agree with you on that. It's just so sad to say because the Cardinals were coming in as the worst team, and right now they're doing better than Mac Jones and the Patriots, even though they're still also sitting 1-4.
Yeah. So I think, unfortunately for Bill right now, I think naturally they just might tank just because injuries and Mac and all is just so bad.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks. I mean, Patriots also have the hardest schedule on the year for any team. So I guess we'll just see what happens as we move forward into the season. But something needs to be changed in New England.
This is what you get for all your years of winning. Too bad.
I guess so. I guess so. No, it's going to be the Brady curse now because you guys didn't want to keep Brady. He went to Tampa Bay, won a Super Bowl, and you lost him. But hey, who are we to know? We're not general managers.
Yeah. Yet.
We're micro general managers. Yeah, yet until they see how good we are.
Exactly.
But anyways, going on to some injuries. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of big name injuries this week, Keith. James Conner went down with a knee injury. He's day-to-day. Zay Jones went down with a knee injury day-to-day. Between those 2 players on knee injuries, I think Connors is more of the one to watch out for due to the fact that, I mean, he is a starting running back. He's been doing good in fantasy this year. But I think that's just something to keep in mind. We'll talk about a future backup running back, for Arizona that is a player to watch out for this week in waivers as well.
I mean, Connor's he's always been plagued by injuries, and this was his problem. But when he's healthy, I think he's a good player. I just hope it's not long term because I have him in a lot of leagues because I like the value of him this year. Zay Jones, wasn't he only coming back from injury or concussion or something?
Yeah, he just came back from an injury.
Yeah, well, that's just unfortunate. From what I've seen, he was doing okay too in that game against the Bills. So that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. So it's going to be just their day-to-day right now. I mean, they're having MRIs on those knees today, and probably going to find out later, either tonight or tomorrow, what's the extent of that injury. But we already know about Anthony Richardson's injury. It's a grade 3 AC joint sprain on his throwing shoulder. He's right now week to week. I think he's going to be missing at least 2 to 3 weeks, at least. But Gardner Minshew is going to be there, and I think Gardner Minshew can still help win for the Colts.
Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Taylor obviously coming back. I know he's on a snap count, but that's going to help Minshew. There is talk of putting Richardson on IR, so he could miss 4 weeks. So I'd say, yeah, expect to have Minshew rolling out there for at least 2-3 weeks for the Colts. But yeah, I still think, depending on matchups. I mean, I don't know if we want to play him in fantasy, but I definitely think he can help the Colts win games.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a guy to stream, but I don't think he's going to be that guy to move you forward in your quarterback position for fantasy as well.
Yeah.
But someone who will help you in fantasy, who's expected to finally be back in week 6 after just coming off a bye week, is Mr. Austin Eckler. He's been inactive since week 1 on that ankle sprain. He's looking to be back, so that's a big name to be coming back for your fantasy lineups. And then someone who also is a big running back, Saquon Barkley. He's still got that ankle sprain. He's been inactive since week 3. And he's still right now uncertain for week 6 as well. So Eckler's back. Barkley, not sure if he'll be back as well for week 6.
Barkley seems to be they're kind of going every week. He might be playing, but we all kind of secretly know he wasn't going to play. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see. He's just one to kind of watch. I actually seen him. I don't know if you've seen the video of him arguing with the fans. I thought it was interesting on the sideline. There was lots of fans giving Daniel Jones abuse when he got hurt that time, and Barkley stood up for his quarterback. I thought that was interesting since he made comments previously about, it was Evan Neal made comments about he didn't care about fans and stuff like that. And Barkley was saying, well, the one thing you don't do is don't turn on the fans, because they're going to be there, after they are. So I thought it was interesting. Barkley is having a fight with the fans on the sideline.
And not to mention Daniel Jones with the neck injury. I mean, I guess this is similar to what he had in 2021 with his neck. But right now they're saying that he might be still able to play in week 6. So something to keep in mind, because Daniel Jones, I mean, here's the thing. If Daniel Jones doesn't come back, or if he does come back, what's the difference in that team? I really don't see much of a difference.
With that offensive line, he's just roadkill every week. I mean, he's going to get smashed more times because they just can't keep him standing for more than 2 seconds without him having to scramble out. So, yeah, I mean, Tyrod Taylor comes in. Maybe he's a bit more of a mobile quarterback. Maybe that works. But, I mean, what's the last time you seen Tyrod being good? With the Bills, I suppose, when he made the playoffs. But, I mean, either one right now you don't want to start.
Okay, good to know. I also, another player that I just thought of, it just came up. Jonathan Taylor, he's back.
Oh, yeah. He's back. That's what we were saying with the Colts. Yeah. I said it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Taylor's back and he didn't produce. Moss still was the guy.
Moss was still the guy, and then wasn't he on a snap count? I mean, that's got to change, I suppose. But then again, what do? You give Taylor all this money, but then Zach Moss is still he's playing great. Yeah. Do you go to 1-2 punch then? I mean, you have to keep Moss in the game somehow.
Yeah, you have to. The question is, though, who gets the goal line work? Is it Moss or is it Taylor?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, for fantasy, you got another good week out of Moss. Now it's like it's all questionable going forward.
Trade him right now.
Yeah, you trade him high. That's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, but there's 3 other big name players that are on injuries. Travis Kelce, low ankle sprain, day to day. Do you think he's going to miss a week? Do you think he's actually going to miss a week, or do you think he'll come back and play?
Came back into the game. So all depends, I suppose, the ankle, what it was like after it. But they're playing Thursday against Broncos. Yeah. So that's the only thing. That's it. If it was Sunday, I'd say he'll probably play. I'd say it's 50-50 right now whether he plays on Thursday. I would, if I had Kelce, I'd be making sure I'd have getting a backup off the waivers just in case.
Exactly. And we'll have some of them later on in the show for waiver wire ads of the week for tight ends. But wide receivers, two last ones to talk about before going to the concussion protocol. Chris Olave, Justin Jefferson, both went down with injuries. Jefferson, a hamstring. He's right now day to day, as well as a toe injury for Chris Olave, who played through it. But he had some warm-ups, pregame warm-ups that he was struggling with his toe injury. So two players to really monitor. I mean, Keith, I don't know about you, but I have them both starting in one of my leagues, and that did not help me this week.
Yeah, I have a lot of Olave. I mean, and I was only maybe an hour in to the games when I seen the video of Olave, and I was like, oh crap, and realized that he had 0 points. I knew he was still out there, but I was like, he could be just a decoy. I think he ended up with something like 9 points or something. Yeah, it's definitely something to monitor. Also note that every time I looked at that game, Michael Thomas was being targeted heavily as well. Now, I don't think his fantasy day was brilliant, but it kind of showed that, if Olave is out, Carr is going to get that connection with Thomas, and, they could just go to, sky's the limit then, really, if Olave misses time. So it's not great. So just hopefully he's good to play this week. JJ,
for someone like...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for someone like you who picked up Michael Thomas as like the wide receiver 6, 7, or 8 in fantasy leagues, I think you're cooking right now with him. He's getting like double-digit points almost every week.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a safe floor all of a sudden, where he was this, wide receiver one with, his ceiling was just through the roof. He's kind of gone the opposite way now, which is pretty good because you can put him in as a flex play too. But I was going to jump onto JJ there. I mean, you got to kind of focus on that, man. He's like your wide receiver one. You got to make sure you've got a backup plan there if he's going to be out. But a lot of people now, we're at week 5, go week 6. Fantasy football is going to start. You're going to find out who the good teams and the bad teams are pretty quick, and you're going to need JJ to help you win games.
Very much, very much. And Jordan Addison, I mean, if JJ does have to miss time, Addison and Osborne, I think they're through the roof on production.
Yeah, I mean, Addison looks really good. I
love Addison.
He's going to slot in. I think he slots into the wide receiver one, in my opinion, if JJ misses time.
And I think he slots in easy in that wide receiver one position.
I just mean for that team. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Lastly, for injuries, concussion protocol, Tank Dell, Mo Alley-Cox, Wan'Dale Robinson. I think the biggest one here is Tank Dell. Obviously, we hope that he comes back, but he's big. He's been doing great in fantasy for a lot of people, especially you and I. Yeah,
and he had a big catch, and then all of a sudden he went down. And I think he was starting to do okay, and then I think he went off twice. He went down, came back on with something else, and then got concussed and was in the tent, and then ruled out. So hopefully he's okay, because I have him. I picked him up on a lot of leagues off waivers, so need him to be okay.
Yeah, you and I both. So hopefully he can come back healthy.
Exactly.
That's about it for news and injuries for this week. A lot of injuries happened this week, but our next little thing that I want to talk about is the last winningless team, the Carolina Panthers. They're 0-5, which a lot of people, including myself, I think could have won the division this year. I really had faith in them winning the division possibly this year, because that division doesn't look that tough. I think it was going to be between the Panthers and Saints, from my opinion. And now you're looking at the Panthers being the last team to not even be able to win. They face the Dolphins next week. Obviously, they're going to lose. Maybe, but most likely. They face the Texans the week after. I think that's a winnable game, but I think that's another game that they could lose. And they go on to face the Colts, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Buccaneers. I mean, Keith, do you think the first win comes from a division game? Do you think that's what's going to happen?
No, that Colts matchup that you said, maybe they could win there, because if it's still Gardner Minshew and who knows what's going on, whether he's, like you said, I like Gardner Minshew, but he has his ups and downs. Like, he plays really well, or then he plays terrible and stuff like that. So maybe that. I think CJ Stroud is playing too good with the Texans. They were unlucky not to win this week. He's playing great. They were unlucky not to win. Like, their defense just couldn't hold up. They lost by the kick, but if I was putting money on that now, I'd say the Texans would win. The Panthers, I'm not totally sold. I don't know about you. I like your opinion on this as well. I'm not sold on Bryce Young at the quarterback.
No.
I'm really not sold. I mean, he has the connection with Adam Thielen, but you see when they brought Dalton in against the Seahawks. I mean, I guess they didn't win, but I thought they looked a little bit better. I thought he gave them more of a chance to win than what Young's been doing. I mean, he's kind of been getting just blown out in games and kind of having to come from behind. I get it that, it's not all on him and their defense is not good either. But, I mean, Sanders in the running game, he looks like a guy who he's banged up. He's not the guy he was last season. And I get, he had probably the best O-line last year, but still doesn't look great. Thielen, he's shining. He looks great. He has the connection there. It doesn't matter who's a quarterback. He's doing really well. But kind of outside that, there's not a lot to them. And like I said, I'm not convinced by Bryce Young. And I can see why they're 0-5. And right now, maybe against the Colts. But like if Anthony Richardson was starting with that, I'd say not a chance. So I'm not too sure where they're going to pick up their first win, because you said they got Miami next. They're definitely not beating Miami.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I personally thought CJ Stroud was the best quarterback in that draft, and I still stand by that, and it's going to prove that he looks like he's the best quarterback in that draft. And Young came in with a lot of question marks. His height was being one of the top ones. Can he succeed in the NFL with his height not being as tall? Obviously, we've seen Kyler Murray come in being short, but they got speed, and that was the thing that maybe that could help him out. But it does not look like Bryce Young has really molded into an NFL quarterback yet.
Yeah, I know, I agree, and I get it takes time, and players adapt differently to the NFL, but it just does not look like it's everybody's on the same page there. I mean, the defense weak, and then this whole thing of they want to get Young a wide receiver one. I mean, what's wrong with Adam Thielen for now? And what was wrong with DJ Moore before you traded him away? Like, they make really questionable decisions that to me don't make any sense. So I mean, if you're a Panthers fan, it's not looking good. It's looking like another down year. I mean, you'll get another decent pick in the draft or whatever, but I mean, from what I can see right now, you're not using your picks very well.
No, you're not. And that's the problem. Like, especially in the offseason, signing all these players, Sanders and Thielen probably the best signing for them. But you sign a bunch of these players thinking that it's going to help whoever you bring into the position at the quarterback position. But now it's almost like you spent all this money. Well, what are you going to do now? You have all this money you spent on these players. You're 0-5. You thought that maybe these players could improve your team. You're the last team to not be able to win this year. So it's kind of now the big question falls on the general manager. And I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see. They're not winning this week against the Dolphins, and that's another thing. No. They're going to go in the first 6 weeks 0-6.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if they decide to dump Frank Reich, I mean, he's probably done. He's bounced around enough teams right now. I'm not saying it's his fault or anything like that, or he's the problem. I mean, what he's working with isn't great. I mean, the defense is not good, and they don't do enough on offense. So, you're going to have issues there. But at some stage, somebody's going to take the blame for this, and generally, it's the head coach. So, it's not a great time if you're a Panthers fan.
Not at all, especially if you're also a Patriots fan. Anyways, let's go into our week 6 waiver wire.
I actually had someone, before we go into that, if you don't mind, I actually had someone who I think might get traded. What do you think about Kyler Murray for your Patriots? Only because it's talk that they might trade, so I was just kind of light bulb moment.
If they, I think any quarterback right now is an improvement than Mac Jones. And Kyler Murray, he's injured. Kyler Murray is also young. So actually, personally, I think I would take it. I would take Kyler Murray. You're not going to probably give up a first, personally. I mean, I think I actually like that. Keith, I like that a lot more than Russell Wilson.
There you go. See, if you lock Kyler Murray in, like you said, he was young, and hopefully,
he's speedy.
Injury.
He can run.
Hopefully, it's no more. Exactly. But then you can build around that then and say, okay, we're not going to be good maybe next year or the year after that. When we build around Murray, then go from there.
Because you don't need top tier wide receivers from Murray, personally. Like maybe one, but like he can scramble, so he can still build more I don't know, build up the play more and more personally. So I would be fine with Kyler.
Yeah, it give the Patriots a different dynamic that we've never seen before.
Yeah, you don't see that. I mean, we saw that a little bit though with Cam Newton, a little bit. I mean, did he excel? No. Does he suck? Yes. So why do we spend 1 year on him? I don't know. But yeah, that's my take on scrambling quarterbacks. I don't like Newton, never did. Especially since he won that, and especially the way he played in that Super Bowl. That was terrible. Didn't even go after his fumble. Anyways, my little rant. But yeah, no, I like Murray. I would be fine with Murray.
Cool. Just thought something to throw
Yeah,
out there.
no, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that.
So. You know what you do? You need to be the GM now of the Patriots and just get the deal done. That's what you need to do.
I think you and I need to co-GM as the Patriots team.
No problem. You set that up there. You're in New England there. You set that up and we'll...
Yeah. I'll set it up. I got you. I'll bring you in. We just can't have any biases. You can't talk about Seattle in that organization. Just saying.
Oh, okay. We can have a conversation.
Yeah. But if you haven't done so, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match first deposit up to $100. So go play, go bet $100, go put in $100, get yourself a free $100. Now you got $200 to spend, but bet and gamble responsibly. Also, if you're still looking for a trophy or a ring or a belt or some, I don't know, trophies for a corporate event, I don't know, your employee of the month, and you want to get a little bling bling, go to trophysmack.com/sportstimehq, and you can check out all that cool stuff. NBA is coming around, NHL is coming around, so you can also get some stuff on that for those sports. But it's time for our Week 6 waiver wire quarterbacks. And Keith, I'll start with my guy because he was your guy last week, and I think I'm howling on this pick because I really like this pick. It's Sam Howell. I'm actually surprised you didn't pick him up as your waiver wire quarterback this week again. He had a breakout week, 26.42 fantasy points, finishes a QB5 currently so far. I mean, he's now had 2 back-to-back weeks scoring 19-plus fantasy points 3 times this season. He goes to face Atlanta. CJ Stroud didn't have the best week with Atlanta, but Atlanta's still giving up solid points to quarterbacks. So I think kind of look at CJ Stroud's performance as a little bit of a fluke because obviously Tank Dell went down, so it didn't help CJ Stroud's offense. But Sam Howell's got a lot of good offensive weapons. I mean, you got Curtis Samuel who broke out. You got Scary Terry. You got Diami Brown. I mean, who else am I missing? Am I missing another top guy? Jahan Dotson. And then you got receiving running backs, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. So I like Sam Howell, and I still think he's a good quarterback moving forward. And he's not owned in over 70% of the leagues. He's only 35.9% owned. And I just find that wild, Keith.
Yeah, no, I was looking at Howell as well. The only problem is I'm already picked 2 guys from last week. I didn't want to make a tree. I want to give the people, a couple of other guys to pick from. But yeah, I like the pick. I mean, Washington were terrible in the first half, but then they got it going. Sam Howell definitely looks like he is the guy there. We had these conversations before that, Ron Rivera was very quick to change quarterbacks when things start to go wrong. Now they will need to win some games. I know he put up good numbers for fancy wise, but he will need to start winning games and play in the first half and not like last week. But I like him. I don't mind the matchup. I get the Falcons are a bit stingy towards quarterbacks fantasy wise, but I think they'll have enough to go out there and win it. I mean, they just need to put up that performance they did 2 weeks ago against the Eagles. If they can just be more consistent and play like that, then they're going to be fine. They're going to win games, and how it's going to be great for fantasy.
Yeah, I like how I like how, but again, like you mentioned, they have to win, and letting the Bears drop 40 points on you is pretty embarrassing. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, but losing to the Saints and not even scoring a point is also embarrassing.
So embarrassing, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I do like the Commanders team. This team, I think this team's still young and still trying to mold together as a team personally. And I think moving forward, I still think they're going to go with Howell for next year. I think Howell's still the quarterback for next year. I don't see them moving on with him. You're sitting 2-3, which is still pretty good. And let's be honest, how good is that division besides the Eagles?
well, after seeing the Cowboys getting blown out, like, I mean, I get it.
Which was pretty great.
It was pretty great. I mean, it seems like the Cowboys are good against average teams, and then anyone that's good, they kind of are terrible. And then the Giants are terrible. So, second place could be up for grabs if Washington decide to get it going, because I think everybody was expecting that Washington D to be a hell of a lot better than it is. So they need to get it going there to help out, Howell and the guys on offense. But yeah, I don't think that right now. I kind of think that Cowboys are kind of a bit like kind of frauds. They're not that good. It's the Eagles in that division, and kind of that's it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Eagles, one of the last two teams being undefeated. But if you look at like if the season would end today, Phillies, Detroit, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco, they're all in the playoffs. And then you got Dallas, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Seattle fighting over those 3 wildcard spots. But just behind is Washington, sitting 2 and 3. So Washington can easily be coming in and still make playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, all they got to do is just get consistent, a bit more consistent, because we've seen them all over the place right now. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Detroit looks good, as we have Nick Lasan coming in saying Detroit. He loves his Detroit. And then we got Mr. Adam coming in. Pat's going 1-16. Keith, you agree with that?
Yeah,
I see it. I see the page that's going 1-16 of how bad they look. They just look so bad.
Detroit looked pretty good, but they did lose to my Seattle, so that was okay.
Yeah, of course. You love to see Seattle just winning. That's Detroit's only loss too.
It is. Detroit looked pretty good, to be fair. I mean, they were missing Amon-Ra and Gibbs, and there was no problem this week for them. Really like what they're doing there. Really like their head coach. Things are definitely improving for them. Detroit's been a team that's been crying out for a good run for many years. So hopefully they can keep going.
Yeah, they have been. And with Jameson Williams back, obviously he didn't really do much production in the game or in fantasy, but production-wise with this Jared Goff team, this team is a playoff contending team. Personally, a little hot take here. I think Detroit can make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I said this to Katie watching it the other day. They remind me of the first year the Bengals got good, when it was just kind of, a year too soon for them, and then they kind of came back and made it to the Super Bowl. So it could be that type of year, which would be a pretty good year for Detroit fans.
If they can get past Philly and San Francisco, they're in the Super Bowl. Those are the two teams that I think are better than Detroit, and that's the only two teams I think that are better than Detroit right now.
I agree, but I think that's the way. Yeah, that's the way it's going to go, though. Like if Seattle want to get there, if anyone else, you're going to have to run through. You're going to have to go through.
Yeah,
the 49ers and Philly. So yeah.
But we have a Los Angeles team that just had a key receiver come back, and we might see the quarterback flash with this 2 big weapons at receiving. Keith, who's your waiver wire out of the week? Quarterback.
What's this quarterback? Somebody that I don't generally pick, but I just felt that he's doing okay, and the matchup looks good this week. So it's Matthew Stafford. He's only 54% owned, which I was kind of surprised, because I just think a lot of people tend to gravitate to him because he's kind of a solid floor guy. He doesn't tend to go off for like crazy, 20, 25, 30 point weeks, purely because he just hasn't got that rushing upside. But he did well this week. He had 222 yards, a couple of touchdowns. 16 fantasy points, but he's playing the Cards this week. And I just think we just seen Joe Burrow fly on them. I mean, Jamar Chase had 3 touchdowns, 192 yards on them. I mean, I'd be playing every receiver against them. And I think Matthew Stafford's a solid start this week. I think he'll definitely have, in my opinion, one of his better fantasy days this week. So I think it's a good start.
His floor to ceiling ratio right now in these past 5 weeks, 13 points to 17 points. It's a decent ceiling. Decent floor and ceiling, but it's not the one you're hoping for. But with Cooper Kupp being back, I think his ceiling is going to improve, and I think we could be seeing 20 to 25 points sometimes in every single game.
Yeah, Kupp's definitely going to help it, and obviously we throw in Puka Nacua there. I mean, he still was very relevant for fantasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's good going forward. I mean, he hasn't been lighting it up this year if you look at his fantasy numbers in PPR leagues, but I think he can going forward now with Kupp back.
Hey, but you know who is still producing with Cooper Kupp being back? Puka Nacua.
You need to just put in a Puka Nacua segment and just like flash it up on the screen and just tell people what's going on.
Just saying, Nacua had more fantasy points than Cooper Kupp this week.
Yeah, I didn't think Kupp would come back and just light things up again. And I think he will going forward, but I still think Nacua is going to be very relevant. I mean, even Tutu Atwell got a touchdown. So Stafford is definitely mixing it up in there. But you'd imagine Kupp's going to be the focal point, don't know, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Kupp had 19.8 points, and then Nacua had 20.1 points, so only 0.3 points off. But I just still want to say Nacua is still lighting it up with Kupp.
You just want to say his name. That's what you want to say.
I do. I really want to say his name. But, of course, back to the quarterback position. Sam Howell, Matthew Stafford, our top 2 waiver wire quarterbacks of the week. Some other ones to keep in mind. Russell Wilson, he had another great week this week. Joshua Dobbs didn't have the best week, but, of course, he's still been lighting it up in Arizona. Hopefully he can bounce back next week. Then you got Derek Carr, Bryce Young, who had 20 points. I mean, his first 20 burger of the year. Don't really trust Bryce Young too much, but again, another good streaming option.
Yep, agree with that.
But let's go on to our waiver wire running backs. Keith, we have 2 running backs that I don't think we would have ever predicted to talk about in the same week. And I want to start with yours because you talked about him last week, and I'm sure you can just touch on a little bit about him. But let's start McLovin this pick again.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy we didn't even know his name coming into the season. Yeah. I know I'm going to be talking about it twice, and we're only through 5 weeks. It's Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he was 1.8% on last week, and he's gone up to 54%, which is a big jump, but he's still not hit the 70 mark. I mean, his stats don't light up the board. He rushed 9 times, 68 yards, had 4 targets, 3 receptions for the touchdown. I mean, he got 17 fantasy points, which is good, but he's after putting back-to-back weeks in. So he showed when he's out there for your fantasy team, he can put up good numbers. I get Javonte is missing, but I like Javonte. I think everybody likes the talent. Everybody knows what he is, but can we trust him? That's the problem. He keeps getting banged up. He keeps getting injuries. And I think this is a guy it's a must add, especially if you do have, I'm guessing if you're the Javonte owner, you already have him because, you're taking the handcuff. But if not, I still think you go out and get him because the way, I don't know about you, Fernando, but unless you're heavy on running backs, the landscape on the waivers and just the landscape through leagues is terrible. Running backs are not doing good. They're so like McCaffrey, as per usual, as Mr. Consistency, but like Derrick Henry doing nothing. A guy that's been usually up there with consistency, doing nothing. I mean, Pollard went off the boil against a good team, I suppose. This week he let down a lot of owners, but I just think this guy is worth picking up. He's proven in 2 weeks now that he can put up good numbers for fantasy. Playing the Chiefs this week, they're not a great matchup for running backs, but I still think he's worth a waiver ad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I thought Samaje Perine was going to be that guy in Denver until Javonte Williams came back, but McLaughlin obviously looks to be that great running back that we're used to seeing in certain like rookies that are coming up and trying to get some starting role. So I like him a lot. I think he's one of the top ads of the week personally for running backs. But like you mentioned, the running backs this year, the landscape has been so awful that like you really can't trust these running backs. I mean, I almost benched Breece Hall this week and I was like, you know what? let me just start him. He ended up giving me 30 points, but I didn't expect that. I expected him to get, I don't know, like 10. I mean, Najee Harris, he's been another guy. Ramondre Stevenson, Aaron Jones with an injury, Barkley with an injury, Eckler with an injury. I mean, what's going on with these running backs? I mean,
we already know everyone's strategy next year, and it's going to be zero running back. Everybody's just going to wait till like round 4, 5, 6 to start taking their first running back off the board, and everybody's going to go wide receiver heavy. That's how it looks like it's going to play out.
Yeah, and now we touched a little bit last week on the running back position, coming out of college and going to the NFL, into maybe transitioning to a wide receiver, because there's 3 positions in the wide receivers at least for every team, so you can somewhat get into the lineup versus 1 running back per team. Running backs these teams don't really care for them. They don't care for them at all. They'll just throw you away like your chopped liver. I mean, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
These wide receivers, they have more ability to make more money, more ability to have playing time. I mean, I don't know. These running backs, there needs to be something addressed with the running backs because I feel bad for these running backs.
I do, but this is the thing. When you see them all going down and getting injured, then the league and the owners can say, like, well, why am I going to give these guys more money? Like, this is again, Barkley, look, you're gone down again. Like, you know what I mean? Eckler, you're fighting for more money. Look, you went down again. I get it's the nature of the position, but you're not giving the GMs or the NFL a reason to do something for the position or give them more money. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but this is kind of the way it is.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate to see, and it also goes into effect that should all stadiums move to grass fields?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
I
guess we'll see.
That Buffalo game is crazy, and a lot of people are blaming the surface for that.
Exactly. And we also have a running back that went down that's been helping fantasy lineups, and James Conner. And if he ends up not playing, you got to go look at Amari DeMarcado. I mean, he's my waiver wire running back this week.
Who?
And I know, exactly. He's a rookie. He's a rookie running back who's 24 years old, who personally is already up there in age coming in as a rookie. Yeah. And I mean, he was an undrafted free agent. Didn't even get drafted. And we're now talking about him here in week five recap and 6 waivers. He had 12.7 fantasy points, played 77% of the snap. Right now is the RB16 for the week, but he had a good year. He had a good week. I mean, he rushed for only 10 times, 45 yards, which doesn't seem that much, but if you're averaging 4.5 yards per carry, that's pretty good because realistically 3 downs, you can get a first down every time. So I like DeMarcado. If he ends up playing some more, I don't know. If Connor is out, we'll see him more because he's the lead back right there.
Yeah, I mean, they're struggling there for running backs, right? So Connor's out, and then they have Ingram, who was inactive too. So
Deontay Ingram.
Yeah, so I think this guy's probably a must pick, especially if you're the Connor owner, or I mean, I think I would prioritize, in my opinion, between McLaughlin if he's still out there and your guy DeMarcado. This week, like we said, the landscape of running backs is terrible. I think Connor's definitely going to miss this week. I haven't heard any news if it's going to be long-term, what's it, or what's going on.
It's based on that MRI.
Yeah, exactly. But just what we know with Connor and the nature of his previous injuries and stuff like that, I just think he'll definitely miss this week. So I definitely think he's a must pick. I mean, nobody knows his name. He's going to be left out there in a lot of leagues. So I'd say go grab him.
Yeah, I mean, the RB4 on that depth chart is Corey Clement.
He's still hanging around the league? I thought he was out of the league.
Still hanging around. He's still hanging around. I mean, last time we remember him was in Philadelphia, but I mean, this guy's been bouncing around teams, and he's in Arizona right now as the RB4. He can be a good pass catching back.
Yeah, he's not bad pass catching back, but I wouldn't be rushing. He's a guy I wouldn't be rushing to get. I mean, I'd take my chance.
DeMarcado is the top guy there.
Yeah, I'd take my chance with him and see what happens.
DeMarcado also had 3 targets, caught one of them, so he can get targets in the pass game. We'll see what happens the following week. But Amari DeMarcado and Jaleel McLaughlin are 2 waiver wire running backs, 2 very long names. But some other running backs to watch for is Antonio Gibson, which I'm not saying to go rush and pick him out. Just stream him. 10.4 points this past week, 50.6% owned. Jaylen Warren had another decent week, 10.9 points. Tajay Spears, backup running back for Derrick Henry, looks really good this season, 16.9 points. Kendre Miller, he had finished the day with 13 points. A lot of good rookies coming out and producing, Keith, personally.
Yeah, I think Spears is an interesting one because I think they're slowly but surely transitioning over there. I just get the vibes that Derrick Henry stays our numbers. I think when he gets a full workload, I think he looks fine. I don't think he looks like he slowed down a whole lot or anything like that. I just think they're transitioning to Spears, and this is the way they're going forward. Kendre Miller, I really like this guy. I really liked what I seen in preseason. Then he got banged up, was missing then the first couple of weeks. Kamara is still Kamara. That's the thing. And, Miller's numbers probably look a lot better than what they are because, you were blown out and they start putting these guys in the game. But yeah, I definitely like the talent, and especially like Kamara has been known for his injuries in the past. So he is a guy just to have if you have a spot in your bench to put there, because I do think he can be good later on in the season.
Yeah, love those picks. I mean, I'm actually going to try and sell Kendre Miller personally in my dynasty. I'm trying to improve more in quarterback, wide receiver, tight end positions. I mean, he's a solid running back who produced, and hey, running backs are tough to find these years.
Exactly.
But going on to our waiver wire wide receivers this week, not mentioning Nakua, but I'll mention this guy from Kansas City, Rashee Rice. He's another rookie. These rookies breaking out left and right. Rashee Rice, he's had 3 straight weeks with 5+ targets. 3 out of the 5 weeks, he's finished the week with double-digit points. He's gotten into the end zone twice now. He got one last week. Rashee Rice finished the day with 13.3 points. The teams that they're facing is the next 3 weeks is division games, which could be question marks on whether or not they're going to be able to produce, because division games are always stressful for teams. But they go on to face Denver, Chargers, Denver again. We're going to see what happens. But if Travis Kelce does have to miss time, Rashee Rice, he's a top receiver there. And Rashee Rice is going to keep getting more targets. And I think they're going to slowly and surely keep throwing to him. I mean, it looks like Patrick Mahomes likes Rashee Rice a lot. I mean, 4 of the 5 games, he's had five or more targets. So he's getting those targets that we want to see. And Rashee Rice, it's only a matter of time he breaks out and has triple digits in receiving yards.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he has the trust of Mahomes. And like you said, if Kelsey's out this week, well, then that's a big plus. I definitely like what I see. I'd rather take the chance on Rice than Sky Moore or any other of these guys, because generally, in previous years, it's kind of like, okay, when Tyreek Hill, say after Tyreek Hill left, it's been Travis Kelce and then question marks over who else gets the ball. But I think Rice could make himself into a consistent fantasy option. So yeah, I don't mind this pick.
Yeah, I like it. I like Rashee Rice a lot. I don't know. I didn't pick him up in a lot of dynasty rookie drafts or even fantasy drafts, and I think I'm paying the price now.
Yeah, but I still think if you want him, I don't think he's going to cost you that much. So,
no.
So he was going late.
Right now, he's not going to cost you a lot.
Yeah, right now he's not. So, you could go out and get him now. But, he was going late in a lot of rookie drafts just purely because of the landing spot. I mean, it's technically good, but, I mean, it's Travis Kelce and then question marks over everyone else. Yeah. But it looks like I think he's going to be able to prove it, and if he hasn't already. But, like I said, I think he has the connection with Mahomes, and I think it's going to be good for him going forward.
Yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward, but really good offensive team, and of course you're facing defenses who aren't as strong. Denver, Chargers, then Miami after the 3 division game homestand and away stand. Yeah. So we'll see what happens before they go on their bye week. But Keith, your guy, who's your guy? I already howled in Washington. Who are you howling as well in Washington?
I'm going for Curtis Samuel this week. He's only 27% owned. I always liked the talent. I just never thought he was used correctly. Maybe this guy just needs to change. But he did well last week. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 65 yards, a touchdown, 18 fantasy points. That's 2 weeks in a row he's after putting up. I think he had 18 points twice back to back, which is good. It's show that Howell has confidence in him. He's also a sneaky guy that can get work out of the backfield. They kind of like to do that kind of Debo tricks and stuff with him, which is always good for fantasy. So I really like him. Playing the Falcons this week, we said that they were, stingy against quarterbacks. They're not that stingy against wide receivers. I think Samuel can have another decent day. Especially if you have Terry double covered the way he's kind of going. He's not really hit the, his full potential this season yet. So I think Samuel can still put up a decent day this week.
Yeah, he's Curtis Samuel having a little bit of a Romeo Dobbs season right now, back-to-back weeks with 18 points, and he's getting those targets, 7 or more targets in the last 2 weeks. You mentioned they use him in the backfield. 3 of the 5 games he's been used in the backfield on rushing attempts. I like Curtis Samuel a lot. He's right now, last 2 weeks, finishing as a low-end wide receiver 1 to a high-end wide receiver 2. So I think moving forward, I mean, Samuel's a good guy to keep in mind and might even be a good guy to get on your fantasy teams now before it's too late.
Exactly. I think it could be the case where, like, I think you were too, big Jahan Dotson guys coming out, and I think it could end up being Curtis Samuel being that guy and not Jahan Dotson, which is a shame for us that took the Dotson shares. But I mean, go get him now while nobody else is looking, and that'll cover your mistake for Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, like I like Scary Terry a lot. I'm a big Terry McLaurin fan. You're more of a Jahan Dotson fan, but I never had a problem with Jahan Dotson. I thought he was a decent wide receiver, and I think I picked him up in a couple of leagues that I have. But I mean, to see Curtis Samuel, who's already 27 years old, versus Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson, you didn't think Samuel was going to be that guy.
No, and they're also mixing in De'Ami Brown there as well, so it's kind of interesting what they're kind of doing there.
I'm curious to see what happens, what they're going to do in the offseason, because obviously I think Terry McLaurin, his contract, he's coming up to a contract year soon. I think next year is his contract year, right?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he'll get snapped up, if not, or he'll get signed to some sort of a deal. But he's good. I just don't think he's had any year where he's gone off the charts. You know what I mean? To command crazy money or for Washington to be really confident in him.
Yeah, and I mean, you have Curtis Samuel, who signed a 3-year deal with the Washington team. I think he's got this year, and then he's got 2 more years. So he's got a full contract, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2024 when he becomes 30. So they have Curtis Samuel for multiple years. And if they do decide to keep him, they could keep him until he's a free agent again. And if he produces like this, he's going to stay on that team.
Yep, exactly. And with the, where you can use him out of the backfield as well, that just gives them another option to, make them say, yeah, we want to keep this guy.
Exactly. But we'll have to see. But our 2 waiver wire wide receiver ads of the week, Rashee Rice and Curtis Samuel. Some other ones, I dropped a lot of names starting with J this week. Jonathan Mingo, Josh Reynolds, Josh Downs, and then Tyler Boyd. So 4 guys that are good alternate waiver wire options. Mingo, he's starting to look good in where is he? Oh my goodness, Carolina.
Mingo is Carolina.
Yeah, I keep mixing him up with Josh Downs for some weird reason, but it might be the Jays. That's why. But Josh Downs, he's in Indianapolis. He had a good week, 15.7 points. He had 2 big receptions with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. So if Gardner Minshew is the quarterback moving forward, which he will be, Josh Downs a good waiver wire pickup. Josh Reynolds in Detroit, something that I wouldn't think I'd be mentioning still. In fact, with Jameson Williams being back, Mon-Ra still there. Injuries have been factored in. Josh Reynolds, 17.6 points. He's decent. He's looking good. I mean, he's a good guy to keep on the bench in case another waiver wire injury comes up, and you already have Reynolds on the bench. Then Tyler Boyd, of course, with T. Higgins being out.
I've got a name for you as well, with T. Higgins being out. I don't know if you've seen it, but Trenton Irwin. He had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 16 points. If T. Higgins is out, I think he could be a sneaky play, because I think Tyler Boyd is going over to the other side and Irwin is playing in the slot, and he looked like Burrow's safety blanket last week.
Yeah, 10 targets, 8 receptions. It's safety blanket material right there. 14 fantasy points. Yeah. Then they also have an easy week against Seattle next week.
Oh, no easy week. We're going to put it up to them. But
I like the shout on it. I like Irwin as a shout.
It's worth taking if T. Higgins is out. If T. Higgins is playing, you don't go near him because he's not going to be in the team. But Tyler Boyd, obviously, he will be, so you can take a chance on him.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd being 60.8% owned, he might not be available in your league. So Trenton Irwin, who's 0% owned, he's a guy to look out for. Yep. So I like the shout. I like the shout with Irwin. Now it's time for our waiver wire tight ends. And Keith, I'll start with you. Another guy you really like. And he did another good week. Had another good week.
He did. I'm going back to the same well again with Cole Kmet. I mean, he's still just about a 68% on, just underneath the 70. Yeah, 5 targets, got all 5, 42 yards. Found the end zone again, which is most important. That brought up the fancy day for me. Got 14 points. Looks like the connection this year is there with him and Fields. And
Finally.
Exactly, finally. And hopefully they can take off now after that win. He's good matchup this week at home to the Vikings. We know what the Vikings defense are like. They give up points left, right, and center. So I think he's a low tight end 1 this week. And he's out there. You know, you can get him just over 30% of leagues. You can definitely take him if you want to stream him this week.
Yeah, 2 straight weeks with 3 touchdowns now. 2 touchdowns last week, 1 touchdown this past week. And that's now 3, if I'm correct, 3 of the 5 weeks that he's played, he finished as a top 10 tight end. So it's something to look out for. You want to see that production. If he's scoring you more than 8-9 points, he's fantasy relevant, because that's really the bar right now for tight ends.
Yeah, definitely.
And that should be the bar right now for running backs too.
It should. Oh yeah, that's where the bar is, definitely for running backs too. But tight ends is usually, like we say it all the time, it gets real dicey. We've only kind of had 1 week where we've been struggling. So we'll see how it goes after this, because I'd imagine Cole Kmet will go over 70% for next week.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you're not gonna be able to talk about him next week, but who knows? Yeah. If you want to incorporate a segment with Cole Kmet, we can do that too.
His name doesn't flow like Puka Nakua, so we're okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. But another tight end who we actually touched on last week, and he's finally in the waiver wire as this week for me now, is Dalton Schultz. I mean, he finished another week as a tight end 6, 10 targets, 7 receptions. I mean, he got you a good amount of points, 19.5 fantasy points. This is mainly because of Tank Dell and being out on that injury, the concussion. If Dell is out again, I think CJ Stroud is going to look for Schultz again, because I think Stroud likes Schultz, but he just doesn't know how to incorporate him too much. And with Tank Dell being that deep threat option, that good option for CJ Stroud, he had to look somewhere else, and he had to look for Schultz underneath a lot. 7 receptions, 65 yards. He got into the end zone already. It looks like CJ Stroud back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. It looks like he might be that goal line receiving option for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I don't mind Dalton Schultz. I mean, we've seen what he did with Cowboys and it looked good. I think a lot of people picked him up late in drafts. I'm sure the first few weeks weren't happy and he got dropped. But like you said, Tank Dell going down probably helped the situation there. I mean, even that, I think he was okay last week without lighting things up. And Dell was on the field. So, yeah, I don't mind it. Definitely had a good week last week. And, yeah, he can definitely be that safety blanket for CJ Stroud if Dell's not in the game. Yeah.
I mean, back-to-back weeks with double-digit points. Can't go wrong with that for a tight end.
Oh, for sure, no. So, yeah, he definitely a guy to plug and play and see where it goes.
Yeah. Some other options for tight ends, Noah Gray. That's only if Travis Kelce is out. Zach Ertz, another solid performance, 9 points. Logan Thomas, 20.8 fantasy points. That's pretty dang good. If you say so, if I think so personally. But Logan Thomas, another receiving option in Washington, just makes it more of a mess in Washington. Who is the receiving option there? It looks like it's bouncing around everywhere. So that's why I didn't really incorporate him into my top waiver tight end ad. But a guy that was really stuck between with Schultz and this guy is Mr. Jonnu Smith. 10.7 fantasy points. He's still relevant. And they got Kyle Pitts involved too, finally.
They did, yeah. Ritter looked a lot better, which helped. So, yeah, I always liked Jonnu Smith's talent. I just thought it was a weird landing spot. Ended up in, Atlanta when you have Kyle Pitts. But if they can incorporate both of them more often, well, then it'll work. Yeah.
So we'll have to see what ends up happening with Jonnu Smith. I might pick Jonnu Smith next week if he has another solid performance. I've been picking up in waivers actually everywhere I can that I need a tight end. And I mean, he's been working out well for me. And I think if he has another solid performance, he's going to be my top ad next week for tight end.
No, we're already working for next week.
Yeah, already. But we can't work on next week until we talk about tonight's Monday Night Football. Right now, it's Green Bay versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Keith has a 2-game lead against me. I'm right now sitting 3-3. He's sitting at 5-1 on the year for Monday night predictions. Keith, it's the Packers. It's the Raiders. What's the showdown going to see? It's the return of Devontae Adams to Green Bay, realistically, what are you looking at? Who are you predicting on winning this week?
I think it'll be an okay game. Devontae Adams is kind of banged up all week, right? I mean, take it he's going to be out there. I haven't seen anything that he's not going to be out there. Jimmy G coming back after the concussion as well will help. But I just think they're not a good team. And I like what I've been seeing from Jordan Love. So I'm taking the Packers in this one. I'm going 27-23, the Packers.
27-23?
Yeah, I think if they don't just leave it all until the second half and actually play some good football in the first half, I think they'll be too much for the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are just going to have to try and lean on Devontae Adams all night, and we'll see how healthy he is. One big hit could really hurt him. But I'll take the away team. I'll take Green Bay Packers and see if I can keep my good run going.
Yeah. Obviously, you'll still have a 2-game lead after this week because I'm also going with the Packers as well. But I think it's a little bit wider of a score margin. I think it's a 2-score game, actually. 29-20 is the final score for me. I think Devontae Adams, he's not going to be able to be 100% this week. And I think that's going to struggle with the Raiders. So it's something to keep in mind. Jordan Love, he's been playing great. So I think Packers can easily win this one. At least they should win this one. I don't see them losing to a 1 of 3 right now Raiders.
Yeah, the only thing is it looks like Aaron Jones is not a go tonight. So that's going to be a loss for them. But, I mean, they're just going to have to get more creative, get Watson involved. We all know that Dobbs is kind of the guy with Jordan Love there now. So I still think they can get this done. And, we'll both have another win in the column next week.
Yeah, but you know what? Personally, they've been without Aaron Jones really all season. And I don't think it really hurts them too much again if he's out again. Because they've already been using this offense without him. And I think Jordan Love has been the reason that's helped them win these games and get good, personally.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously good to have him in there because he's a good player, Aaron Jones. But, I mean, like you said, they probably played more games without him than with him. So, yeah, they're okay. Yeah.
So that's going to do it for Monday Night Football predictions. Packers are winning this one based on Keith and I's prediction. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, Packers can have another great week, and Raiders just struggle again because that's what it looks like again. But we'll see. I mean, Raiders doing better than the Patriots. So who knows? I don't know. Anyways, if you haven't done so already, be sure to use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They will match your first deposit up to $100. Keith, some over-unders this week. Jordan Love, 20.5 completions. Higher. Are you taking the higher or are you taking the lower on him? This is back-to-back weeks before coming into today where he's had 22, 23 completions. Are you taking the higher on this one again?
Yeah, I'll take the higher. That Raiders defense is not that good, so I'll take the higher.
I will also be taking the higher. Josh Jacobs, are you taking the higher or lower on 73.5 rushing yards?
That's an interesting line.
I know.
It's a tough one to go. I think I'll go under.
Under? I'm also taking the under. I think they're going to have to pass. They're going to be down a lot. They're going to have to start passing. I don't see him getting 73.5 rushing yards. Or 73. It was more than 73.5 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And then last one, higher or lower, 47.5 receiving yards for Romeo Doubs tonight. Are you taking the higher or lower?
No, over. I'm over.
Yeah.
I think
first 2 weeks first 2 weeks he had 26, 30 receiving yards. The past 2 weeks he's had over 70 receiving yards. I'm smashing the over on that one. So look at that. 3 great players that you can easily have solid win week. But all you got to do, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They're going to match first deposit up to $100. You put in $100 on those 3 picks, cash out, and hey, look at that. Now you become a multimillionaire. Just kidding. I wish. But please be gambling responsibly. Once again, though, if you haven't used TrophySmack.com, go use it. Use /SportsTimeHQ. Go get yourself a trophy, a ring, a belt. If you work in a corporate industry and you're Employee of the Month and you want to get some, I don't know, a little trophy for Employee of the Month, go get it. I don't know. Something like that. But you can also get some for your fantasy teams. the Patriots. Why am I talking about the Patriots?
The Patriots get the poop one.
Yeah, if you you can get the poop trophy for the Patriots since they are terrible. Can't really get the poop one or the trophy one for Seattle Seahawks yet, but we'll have to see what happens. But again, if you decide to put in some money into your leagues, go get yourself a trophy and go brag about who's the champion every year. So once again, go to trophysmack.com/sportstimehq. That's going to do it this week. My co-host Keith, you can follow him all over social media at swampdonkey_90. Go follow him on Instagram at huddleup_NFL. I'm Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We'll see you guys next week.